Hello again, it is Grace coming to share with you more about my weight loss journey so that it can hopefully help some of you with yours. Okay, so today I want to give you the first of 10 tips about fundamental things that I have learned during my weight loss journey. I'm going to speak about these tips from my own experience, and hopefully they will be able to show you how to not only maximize your weight loss journey, the benefits of your weight loss journey, but also how to avoid some of the pitfalls and potential setbacks that a weight loss journey can bring up. So the first one that I want to speak about is recognizing the importance of a calorie deficit. And I want to speak about this as the first thing because a calorie deficit is a necessity if you want to lose fat. So the way that I came to understand calories through my research is that calories are the energy that your body needs for doing the things that it needs to do. In order for you to lose weight, you have to use up more energy than what you receive through food energy. Body will then be triggered to go and tap into the food energy that is already stored on my body, and that's my fat. So once my body starts tapping into the food energy to make up the shortfall of the energy that I haven't given to it, that is when I start to burn off more fat. That is when I start to lose fat and start to see my body fat reducing. I really hope that's clear, because when I feel like I fully understood that, it made such a huge difference to my journey, because out of all the 10 tips that I'm going to give you, this one is the one that is absolutely necessary. You need to be in a calorie deficit in order for you to lose fat. And I want to tell you about a few ways that I got caught out by not truly understanding this at the beginning of my journey. So, at the beginning of my journey, I had decided that I was going to clean up my diet. And I thought that because the vast majority of my diet was made up of whole foods, that meant that I could pretty much eat without having to worry about calories. And what happened was, I was eating really healthily and I was feeling really good about eating all these whole healthy foods. However, I was not really seeing the results that I wanted to see on the scale. And I became frustrated, I became confused, and I just didn't really understand what was going on. So I did more research and I realized that even whole foods have calories, or energy as I like to think about it. So as I've said in previous videos, I like to eat large volumes of food, and that was not something that I was willing to give up in my weight loss journey, because I knew that is something so fundamental to the way that I eat, that if I tried to eat small portions, the likelihood is I was gonna fall off the wagon at some point and start going back to eating large portions. So I needed a way to eat that was going to allow me to eat the large portions. But what I hadn't understood is, if I wanted to eat large portions, I still had to be in a calorie deficit. And in order for me to be in a calorie deficit eating these large portions, I had to make sure that the food that I was eating was low enough in calorie density that I would still be in a calorie deficit. So once I realized that as long as I was in a calorie deficit, I could still eat those large volumes of food that I wanted to eat. I began to make those adjustments. I began to choose foods that would still allow me to eat the volumes that I wanted to eat, but that would still allow me enough calorie deficit for me to see results. And something that I want to say about the calorie deficit is that I have always been of the mind that I want to eat as much food as I possibly can while still being in a calorie deficit. I was not one of those people who was just wanting to eat as less calories as I possibly can to get the weight off as quickly as I could, because I knew that if I did something like that, the likelihood is that I wouldn't be able to sustain that large calorie deficit for very long. And because being in a large calorie deficit can make people feel so hungry, I suspected that if I did that, then I would probably end up just eating everything that I could see once the calorie deficit became too much for me. So I have always tried to sort of tweak the amount of calorie deficit that I was in by eating as much food as I could, being in a calorie deficit, and only ever tweaking how much food I was eating if I saw that my weight loss was slowing down beyond what I wanted it to. So that is how I sort of managed my calorie deficit. The other way that I found that a lack of understanding of calorie deficit made that my weight loss journey kind of wasn't going how I wanted it to was over the period of time of being in a calorie deficit. Obviously, as I said, I tried to keep the calorie deficit as minimal as I could while still losing weight, but you are still in a calorie deficit. That means that oftentimes you will still feel some levels of hunger. And over time, what I noticed myself doing was increasing my portions and thereby increasing my calories without really thinking about it. It would be like, you're having your breakfast, you're having your dinner, and you just add a little extra portion of food here, or you just have a little bit more than you normally would. And what basically happened was that kind of like subconsciously, I was increasing the calories and the calorie deficit was becoming less and less. And the only time that I would actually sort of wake up and realize you are eating more than you normally do and you are reducing your calorie deficit was when I would look at my results and see that they were slowing down. So I say all that to say that you absolutely need a calorie deficit in order for you to lose weight and fat. So you need to keep that in mind and have that at the forefront of your mind as you are on your weight loss journey. Okay, so like I said, calorie deficit is absolutely necessary. So the next thing that I want to talk about is I decided to take this journey one day at a time. And I really feel like because I take this weight loss journey one day at a time, it has really, really helped me to manage the mental load of making such a significant change in my life. So I found that when I was entering into this weight loss journey, I had to make a lot of changes. So I was making a lot of changes to my nutrition. I was making a lot of changes to my movement, my exercise, and it felt like a lot. I had to make a lot of decisions each day about what food I was going to eat, what ingredients I needed to buy, how I was going to prepare it, and things like that. And I felt like a lot of the time, because I was making these big changes, sometimes it could feel overwhelming. So what I decided to do, and this wasn't straight away, I can tell you that when I first started my weight loss journey, I thought that, I was going to lose all the weight that I wanted to lose in 5 months. I'm sure many of you who are watching this video now have watched so many different YouTube weight loss journeys where somebody was able to lose the weight they wanted to lose in 5 months, in 6 months, in 7 months, some even in 2 months. And I think having watched a lot of those types of videos, I had this expectation that the weight was going to drop off me in the same timescales that I had been reading about. But the reality was that in order for this journey to be sustainable for me, I wanted to, as I said, eat as much as I possibly could, but still be in a calorie deficit. And so because I was sort of pushing the upper limit of the calorie deficit, it meant the weight was coming off, although steadily, it wasn't coming off at that speed that would allow me to have lost all the weight I wanted to lose in 5 months, say, and definitely not in 2 months. But I have learned over this journey that is what is sustainable for me. And the reality is, I want permanent weight loss, permanent fat loss. I don't want a weight loss that is going to come off but then return. And I'm not saying that the other people on YouTube who have had relatively quick weight loss always rebound, but I feel like when you do something very significant to your body in a very short period of time, it makes it harder for you to maintain that, because oftentimes it means that you have to do very drastic things. And as I keep saying, I have been trying to be gentle with my body. So that was a very long-winded way for me to say that at some point in my journey, I decided that I was going to take this journey one day at a time. And when I say one day at a time, what I mean to say is that I focus on each day. I focus on trying to make good, positive decisions about my food and nutrition for each day. I don't think about tomorrow because I cannot predict how I'm going to feel, what I'm going to want to do the next day. I don't think about yesterday because whatever I did the day before, I can no longer change. So I just try and focus each day on doing my best to make positive and constructive decisions for my nutrition and for my movement that are going to help me to reach my goals. And I have found that to be really helpful in taking away that feeling of overwhelm, in taking away that sort of overwhelming expectation of yourself that when you're looking into the future and you're thinking about, oh, I want this to have happened in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, in 4 months, that can be really overwhelming. So I just take it one day at a time, and I find that that has worked for me. And I feel like I want to tell you guys about that, and I think that is important because I feel like it's a strategy that might work for some of you. So the next thing I want to tell you about, and what I've told you about in previous videos as well, is focusing on trying to make the majority of your diet be whole foods. And I talked about whole foods before. I explained that it's about trying to make sure that your food is either grown from and picked from the ground or from the tree, or finding those things in the supermarket where there's a minimal amount of processing and ingredients that have been done to that food. Like, they're pretty much in their original form. And the reason why I think it's so important to focus on whole foods is because whole foods tend to include a lot of water, a lot of fiber, a lot of nutrients in terms of micronutrients. And all these things help to, for me, what I've experienced is they've helped to lessen cravings. They've helped to help me to stay fuller for longer periods of time. and they've helped me to feel more energized and feel like they're really doing my body good. And in relation to digestion, I can say to you that obviously coming out, if you've watched my most recent video, you'll be aware that I was coming out of a health issue that was to do with my digestive system. And switching over to a whole food based diet led to me being able to see absolutely wonderful things in reversing and those health issues that I was going through. So for me, I really feel like if you can focus on increasing the amount of whole foods that you eat and try and make it so that your diet is primarily of whole foods, that you really will see a massive difference, not only in your weight loss journey, but in your health as well. So let's move on. The next thing that I want to give you as like a major tip and strategy for maximizing your weight loss is eating in a low calorie density way, or eating with low calorie density in mind. Now, as I said, I primarily eat whole foods. And in the spectrum of whole foods, there are things that I have come to know for my body that when I eat them, I just feel my best. And those things tend to be low calorie density, but high nutrient dense foods. So for example, I told you in a previous video that I eat a lot of broccoli. And if you go and Google broccoli, you will see just how much benefits there are to eating that type of green cruciferous vegetable. I also eat a lot of potato, tomato, onions, beans, a plantain, as I said, and all of these foods are low calorie density, the ones that I've mentioned. So I try to make sure that the vast majority of my diet is low calorie density, because it being low calorie density helps me to be able to eat the volumes of food that I want to eat and helps me to feel full. And guys, look, throughout this journey, I have been looking for ways to make this journey easier for me. The easier I can make it, the more I know that I'll be able to continue it into the future. And continuing it into the future means that I know that I'll be able to maintain all this hard work that I've been doing. So for me, I'm looking for ways to make this process easier, to make it so that it can become a lifestyle and not just something that I'm doing in the short term, and to make it so that I can eat food that I like and that food that is making me feel full and satisfied. I don't love the feeling of hunger, only because, I mean, hunger is necessary, but I feel like anybody who's been overweight or struggled with their weight, they know what I mean when I say I don't love the feeling of hunger, because in the past, hunger has led to overeating. And obviously, I am consistently working through fixing my relationship with food. And I feel like that is an ongoing journey, just like losing weight and then going forward to maintain weight is an ongoing journey. So for me, I feel like low calorie density has helped me to be able to move forward in fixing my relationship with food, because it allows me to eat the volumes of food that I want to eat, and helps me to feel fuller for longer. And so now I want to talk about the last thing that I'll be talking about in this video. I decided to make this video into 2 parts because if I didn't, I feel like it's going to be really very long video, and I know that you want to get to the useful part of the information as soon as possible. So in order for me to do that, I'm going to make this video into 2 parts. So I'm giving you 5 of my tips in this video, and then I'll give you the next 5 in part 2 of the video. So look forward to part 2. So, okay, so the last thing that I want to speak about in this video is your mindset. And I know you have heard me talk about mindset again and again in my videos, but I put mindset, to an extent, I put mindset even above the calorie deficit. Although I said at the beginning of the video that calorie deficit is absolutely fundamental to fat loss, which it is. That's just science. However, I believe that in order for anyone to be able to go through a successful and sustainable weight loss journey, I think all that starts in your mind, because it requires so much discipline, because day-to-day discipline, because it requires so much change from what you've been previously doing, and because it requires so much determination. All those things start first in your mind. They start first in your mind as thoughts, and then you put them into action, and then as you put them into action consistently, then you start to see the results of what you first thought in your mind. So for me, I feel like it's so important, and it has been so important for me to work on my mindset on a daily basis. Whether that is me reminding myself of being worthy of care in terms of thinking carefully about what nutrition I'm putting into my body, thinking carefully about how I'm moving my body, thinking carefully about just how I'm treating myself in general. Again, in mindset as well, it's about educating yourself about what are the best methods of weight loss. So I said to you in my very first video, I believe it was my very first or maybe my second, that when I was looking to start this weight loss journey, I did research, hours and hours. It could have been hundreds and hundreds of hours. That's how determined I was that this was going to be a lifestyle change that was going to be permanent. I did so much research, and I was really looking for science-backed research. I was looking for information that had been researched by experts and was found sometimes over decades to be a useful and long-term way of losing fat and losing weight. And being able to access all of that research was able to change my mindset. Where my mindset previously had always been to go for sort of faddy quick fixes, by reading the literature, reading the studies, reading the research, it was able to change my mindset about how to go about this journey. And as I've said previously, the proof is in the pudding. You can look at my previous pictures when I was clearly overweight, and you can look at me now and you can see that what I have researched, what I have allowed to change my mindset, and what that mindset change has done to my actions has resulted in the results that you are seeing now and that I'm speaking to you about. So for me, I really feel like mindset change, doing your own research, making sure that you are personalizing this journey to yourself, and recognizing that this is not something that is short term. This is something that should be really, if it is something important to you, something that you are looking to follow through into the future, something that you are looking for it to become natural to you. So yeah, that's what I want to share with you in this part of this two-part series, in telling you these 10 weight loss tips that I have learned over the course of my journey so far. Look out for the part 2 that should be coming soon. If you have gained anything useful from this video, please give me a like. If you want to ask me anything, drop me a comment. And if you'd like to keep hearing from me, and certainly to see the next part of these tips, then go ahead and subscribe. I'm so grateful for you watching this video, and I will see you in the next one.